Hi, welcome to another episode of How to Do Atkins Low Carb. My name is, of course, Kent Halton. And this week's episode is how to bring back those old recipes from your old lifestyle into the new way. How to reclaim some of those old comfort foods and bring them into a new low-carb friendly lifestyle. There's a number of commercial products that make lifestyle so much easier. Obviously, some of the easy ones, there's like tortillas. You obviously can buy a high-carb flour tortilla, or you can also get a whole grain wheat tortilla that's 5 grams of carbs per less per serving. You can go to the store and buy a sugar-free substitute for all the natural sweeteners that you might have used to have in your diet. So if your former recipe called for sugar or honey or something like that, you could easily replace them with an artificial sweetener. Now granted, sometimes those artificial sweeteners might not be a one-to-one replacement for that natural sweetener. You may have to blend two together. For example, with chocolate, sometimes blending sucralose and erythritol together will give you a better result than just simply a one-to-one sugar to sucralose or sugar to erythritol ratio. You can also take into effect that there are a number of low-carb products out on the market if you want to go indeed find them. Personally, myself, I like to make most of the food that I eat. So here's a few of the suggestions that I have. You've seen in my other cooking recipes videos in which breading, there's a number of things that I've eaten, the eggplant Parmesan, the fried chicken, the wings. Breading used to be very high carbs, cornstarch, flour alternative. Well, certainly on a low carb lifestyle, you can replace that with pork rinds, Parmesan cheese, and even such things as coconut flakes or Carb Quick flour. Flour is another one that can also be exchanged for, and of course you have the commercial alternative of Carb Quick or carbulose flour, but there's also low carb baking mixes out on the market that I've referred to in my last videos. In fact, my fast cheese bread video had a recipe for one in the ingredients. I'll put a link to that in the comments on this section below. Noodles, pasta, and rice. Interesting concept. I'll hit upon this later, but it's always been those were the vehicle to bring you what you really wanted. As I said in my Alfredo chicken pasta video, it wasn't so much that the pasta was the main focus of the dish. It was the chicken Alfredo and broccoli sauce that was the focus of the dish, and the pasta simply was a vehicle to eat that. Well, the idea is how to complement the main vehicle of the dish, the Alfredo sauce, and my suggestion is potentially taking the Faux Rice, which is the shredded cauliflower, or there's also the commercial alternatives of Dreamfield's pasta or the Shirataki noodles, or there's also such a thing called Zoodles, which is zucchini squash that's been sliced really into thin strips and sauteed in butter and Parmesan cheese. Additionally, there's dairy. I've heard from a number of my viewers that they miss their milk in their diet. Well, of course you can have heavy cream, but heavy cream is not quite the same as milk. It's very heavy. So in most recipes, the recipe calls for milk, I cut the heavy cream with 50% water. Well, that might not be the most tasty to drink straight out of the glass. There are a number of alternatives for even that situation. There's a homemade milk recipe that I'll link to in the comment section below that is an equitable drink milk from out of the glass that will give you a very low carb dairy drink that you can have. And additionally, if you want to potentially have almond milk, that's another acceptable one. You just want to make sure that you have the unsweetened almond milk. And finally, in the dairy section, there's also ice cream. And if you stay tuned for my upcoming videos, I'll give you two great recipes for making ice cream for yourself. Alright, that covers the dairy aspect, but what about bread? A lot of people are missing bread from their diet. Well, I've given you two different recipes for how to make bread, one for induction and one for after induction, the fast cheese bread. Well, there's also low-carb bread like the Julian Bakery bread that you see advertised to the right. And while I've never tried it, it's a commercial product that you can try if you don't feel up to making the bread yourself. And finally, potatoes. I've obviously uploaded my potatoes, which is one of my most popular recipe videos online at YouTube, and that's even convince non-low carbers like my kids and my relatives to migrate to that style of mashed potatoes rather than the real mashed potatoes. There's also hash browns and faux potatoes, all made from or potato salad that's all made from cauliflower. It's all about thinking outside the box and how to get those flavors without necessarily using that main ingredient. So that hits upon my tips. My first recommendation is to focus on the flavor of the original dish and not always necessarily trying to get a one-to-one conversion of that original dish. To make a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, you might want to think outside the box, not necessarily replace the crust with the pie and all that, but think about how to get that pumpkin pie flavor without necessarily all the carbs. One way is to obviously hit Linda's Low Carb website and have that pumpkin pie bake or the pumpkin cheesecake. Another one happens to be thinking of the crust of the pumpkin pie or the graham cracker crust of a cheesecake, for instance, and convert that to be, say, a nut crust. The whole focus is you want the flavor or the texture of whatever that item was supposed to be, but not necessarily try to make a one-to-one conversion. A graham cracker crust doesn't have to be a low-carb graham cracker crust. It could just be a mixed nuts or almond ran through the food processor with a little bit of butter and Splenda. And the second side, the second tip is to replace the sugar or the starches of the original recipe with some high quality or flavor in the form of fats. You know, replace that quality taste or the sugary taste on the tongue with a high savory taste of the fat. It may not be necessarily a one-to-one replacement of that sugary taste. However, it may satisfy you in just the same way. To that end, I was going to do a live low-carb conversion of one of my favorite desserts as a child. It was a dessert my grandma always used to make me as a child, and it was called the strawberry pretzel desserts. There's a number of different recipes out online for what it is, and I'm sure most people have seen it. It's a pretzel crust on the bottom, covered with a cream cheese mixture, covered with a strawberry gelatin. Simple and easy low-carb conversion of a very delicious meal. Well, I hope this reaches everyone in good health, and I'll talk to you guys later, and looking forward to my recipe videos coming up. So, thank you for watching, and good day.